And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis. You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Good morning, Car Clinic affiliates. Your Car Clinic minutes for the week of January 6, 2017 are about to head your way. So go ahead and press that record button. As always, thank you for broadcasting and listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Have a great weekend.
Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with today's Car Clinic Minute. We all know men are from Mars and women are from Venus. At the service desk, who asks more questions, listens better, and makes decisions based on available information? When I come back, I'll tell you.
O'Reilly. When your battery goes dead, everything can come to a stop. Don't take a chance on getting stranded. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts and get your battery tested free of charge. If your battery does need to be replaced, O'Reilly Auto Parts can help you find the exact Superstart battery that fits your car or truck at a guaranteed low price. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Move over, Mars. Venus is better at the service desk. Why? Many men believe they're born with car chromosomes or fix-it genes. They tend to tell service managers what's wrong. Trouble is, premature diagnosis could be faulty and expensive. But women relate what their cars do that they don't like. Women talk about symptoms like strange noises or sensations. Keep up the good work, ladies. Advice for Mars and Venus? Don't stop with descriptions. Take your technician for a spin. Let them see and feel what you're talking about. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with today's Car Clinic Minute. Boy Scouts learn it to earn their Eagle badges. And if you know it, you may save a few Eagles of your own on dollar bills. Be prepared. When I come back, I'll tell you.
O'Reilly.
When your battery goes dead, everything can come to a stop. Don't take a chance on getting stranded. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts and get your battery tested free of charge. If your battery does need to be replaced, O'Reilly Auto Parts can help you find the exact Superstart battery that fits your car or truck at a guaranteed low price. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Being prepared helps save two rare species, money and life. Every year, 1 in 11 Americans is involved in an accident. So listen up. Carry a jack, spare tire, jumper cables, and learn how to use them. Know what's in your insurance policy and who to call. Keep a card listing medical conditions and allergies. Invest in a cell phone. 911 services could be the stitch in time that saves 9 lives, that is. Go ahead, make your Scoutmaster proud. Earn your merit badge as a highway hero. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with another Car Clinic Minute. Yesterday, we checked out J-Lo's Bentley during our tour of famous four-wheelers. Today, we'll cross the pond to see which machine suits the material girl when I come back.
O'Reilly.
When your battery goes dead, everything can come to a stop. Don't take a chance on getting stranded. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts and get your battery tested free of charge. If your battery does need to be replaced, O'Reilly Auto Parts can help you find the exact Superstart battery that fits your car or truck at a guaranteed low price. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Madonna's known for her change of style. So when not touring London in her more conservative convertible Mini Cooper, she drives a pedal-to-the-metal Maybach by Mercedes. Produced in Germany, this ultra-luxury car is built in 4 months to customer specs. It comes standard with a 543 horsepower V12 engine, a refrigerator, pulsating hand-fitted leather seats, a 21-speaker audio system, and DVD player with twin monitors. A panoramic glass roof can be set from opaque to transparent, so Ms. Ritchie can enjoy the London skyline. So what's the charge on Guy's credit card? A whopping $400,000. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with today's Car Clinic Minute. You can't transform a sow's ear into a silk purse, but designers can convert mules into automotive thoroughbreds. The question is, can the mules keep pace with technology? The answer, when I come back.
O'Reilly.
When your battery goes dead, everything can come to a stop. Don't take a chance on getting stranded. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts and get your battery tested free of charge. If your battery does need to be replaced, O'Reilly Auto Parts can help you find the exact Superstart battery that fits your car or truck at a guaranteed low price. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Automotive mules are life-size physical prototypes that manufacturers have traditionally configured, built, and tweaked before production models are released. But wait, the whip of technology may put the mules out to pasture before they reach the starting gate. Since a single mule prototype can cost up to $500,000, and as many as 60 mules can be produced for a single model, it makes more than horse sense that today's digital engineers are now harnessing the power of supercomputers to simulate safety, drivability, and aesthetics, the triple crown of automotive design. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with today's Car Clinic Minute. Making it to work on time may be hard, but the journey itself doesn't have to be. When I come back, I'll provide some commuting comforts that'll make your 5 o'clock horses easier to ride.
O'Reilly. O'Reilly.
When your battery goes dead, everything can come to a stop. Don't take a chance on getting stranded. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts and get your battery tested free of charge. If your battery does need to be replaced, O'Reilly Auto Parts can help you find the exact Superstart battery that fits your car or truck at a guaranteed low price. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
Oh, 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 O'Reilly Auto Parts.
So what creature comforts do commuters crave in their automotive beast of burden? Per Edmunds.com, comfortable seats and well-designed cup holders make the ride in the saddle physically cozy, while in-dash CD players and wheel-mounted radio controls allow ample entertainment with minimal hassle. In-console PowerPoints and hands-free voice-activated phone systems make it easy for office-bound pilgrims to do a little business before they arrive. And since feeding the horses under your hood can take the gold right out of your saddlebags, good gas mileage can really make a difference between an old gray mare and a red-hot pony. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And thank you, Marty White. Good morning, folks. Welcome to this edition of Bobby Likis Car Clinic, brought to you by the Car Care Council. A little more about the Car Care Council a little bit later, but I want to share with you a lot of interesting information this hour. Number one, I'm going to take you on a trip to Daytona Beach, Florida. And we're going to hear what's going on right there in the heart of racing at the Daytona International Speedway from Terry Saveston, the Director of Motorsports for our affiliate, WNDB 1150 AM, right there in Daytona. Also, bombogenesis. What's a bombogenesis? Fabio, do you know what a bombogenesis is?
No idea.
Well, I'll tell you. Well, I'll tell you a little more about that a little bit later in the program as well. It's very interesting, and if you live in the cold country, that would not be Florida, although it's a little chilly this morning, you know what bombogenesis is. This morning's program is brought to you in part by the Car Care Council. If you're traveling this winter season, remember to follow the 3 P's. Prepare, prevent, and plan to save money and, above all, avoid breakdowns. You can learn more at carcare.org. In fact, their really neat site at carcare.org allows you to show a schedule of maintaining your car, and you can actually put your VIN in there and customize your own maintenance schedule. Okay, your calls and Terry Sabiston when we come back. 888-227-2546. Let's go. Folks, being car care aware is important all year round, but winter is an especially critical time as harsher conditions can put strains on your vehicle. Here are a few items to check, courtesy of the Car Care Council. Your vehicle's tires keep you rolling down the proverbial highway. This time of year, it's smart to check tread depth before driving on icy roads, and you may want to consider special winter tires. Check tire pressure weekly during the winter, as every 10-degree drop in temperature causes a 1-pound decrease in tire pressure. Check your exhaust system for carbon monoxide leaks, as windows are more likely to be closed during this time of year. It's also a great idea to keep your gas tank half full, as this will help avoid moisture buildup in the gas lines, which could ultimately freeze this time of year. For more great tips, videos, and recommended service schedules, visit carcare.org. And while you're there, order your free copy of the Car Care Guide for your glove compartment. That's carcare.org. Car repairs get expensive, and a lot of us don't have spare money to cover them. That's where brands like K-Seal can really be a lifesaver. A car may only have a retail value of a few $100s, so an expensive repair wouldn't make sense. Or car repairs may come at a time when cash is short. For example, last year, a mother came into our shop on her way back from shopping for Christmas because her car smelled like coolant and the temp gauge was fluctuating. We put it on the hoist and found a leak coming from the rear head gasket. She had just purchased the car for $1,500 and wasn't prepared for Christmas cost and a $1,600 repair. We used K-Seal and had her return for a follow-up the next day, and we were happy, but not surprised, to help her avoid a coolant leak casualty. Now, a regular customer, she's had no further leaks or expensive repairs. Find K-Seal at automotive retailers everywhere and get more information on K-Seal at kseal.com. That's kseal.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Rosie Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle, Loden, or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you stir in my soul, you warm my heart, make me feel whole. Your aroma calls me, it starts my morning, happy morning. Your name is Folgers Mountain Grow, now you're here. Your aroma helps me wake and the day is mine to take. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome to this edition of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Folks, since 1962, racing legends that span the motorsports universe have come in to compete in Daytona's Endurance Sports Classic. From sunup to sunrise and sundown, and then again the next morning. It's an around-the-clock racing marathon. I have been there. I've witnessed this event, and coming up the 27th of this month, January 27th, 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., there's a fabulous entertainment, nonstop racing and food that's called The Taste of the 24 there in Daytona. And to tell us a little more about what's going on in Daytona ahead of time, so we get a preview, is Terry Sabiston, Director of Motorsports for our affiliate in Daytona, WNDB 1150 AM. Terry, glad to have you back in the house.
Glad to be back in the house with Bobby Likis here from the World Center of Racing. A gorgeous, beautiful day here, but you hit on one of my sweet spots, the Taste of 24. It literally sweet stuff, spicy stuff. Every restaurant in town's involved with that, and it's a way to show off the stadium and the 24 hours and their food all at one time. And it's an event that I will never miss. And if you can make it to Daytona, it only costs like $100. The money goes to the NASCAR Foundation, and you have a shot at winning a Rolex just by buying a ticket to the Taste of 24, and you get into the 24 hours.
Now, to that end, you just took the words out of my mouth. That, and folks, if you've never seen a Rolex watch, a 24-hour Rolex, that watch is absolutely a gorgeous watch. So that's reason enough to go. But, you know, Terry, the track and the whole area just comes alive with racing. And whether you're a big racing fan or not, it's just, for me, so interesting. And, of course, I'm a racing fan. But by the same token, I love to eat. I love to enjoy the different types of food. And tell us about all of the new buildings across from the racetrack, because we haven't filled our listeners in on that in some time.
Well, we finished the $400 million renovation on this side of the street, but I don't know how much they're spending on the other side, but buildings are popping up, businesses are opening up. It started with Vast Pro Shops, Outpost, and it's just gotten bigger from there. We've got a luxury theater. The Fairfield just opened up a nice hotel. And I hear rumors that, I don't want to spread rumors, but I hear that there might be some new radio stations moving in there sometime in the future.
Oh,
just a little hint out there. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to spread any rumors about that.
No, you wouldn't, for sure. So let's shift gears. What's going on at the track? Are you at the track today? And if so, what's going on this week and today and this weekend at the track?
We have what we call the roar before the Rolex, and literally it's a warm-up for the 24 hours. It looks like the Rolex in a lot of ways right now. If you come through the garage is no different than what it is during the Rolex 24. All the haulers are here. All the teams are here. I'm literally on top of where the Cup garage, as we call it, is, and I'm looking across, and I can see Lamborghini haulers and BMW and Acura Team Penske, Patron, just several teams. All the teams are here. They're doing the best they can to get prepared for the 24 hours. Some of these teams have brand new cars, first time on track. Lots of new exciting things happening here with the 24 hours. One thing is we've only got 3 classes now. They've taken away what we call the prototype challenge, which were exotics that didn't quite fit the mold for the prototypes, is what I call it. And they have their own race now, which actually happening today. So we have a race, hour and 45 minutes, going up here about 125 with a prototype challenge. These cars are fast and fun to watch. It's amazing. I got that sandwiched in between all kinds of practice for the prototypes, GTLM, GTD, for the 24 hours. And then we've got the Continental Tire guys here, and that's what's coming out on the track right now for practice. And this is the series that runs on the Friday before the Rolex, and there's everything from Mustangs to Mini Coopers to Hondas to any kind you can imagine out there in this class. And so it's like street cars is a good description of it. So there's activity going on, and then throw in this is Scout Day, so the Scouts come out here, camp out, take track tours, and so we've got kids out here. The place is packed. $15 to get in is well worth price of admission, and I've never seen this many people out here on a cold day in Daytona.
So I didn't know that Daytona had any cold days, Terry.
Actually, it's warming up here. As you can hear cars in the background, we generate our own heat on track here. And you do not get cold here with Daytona when there's cars on track. Believe me, I've camped for 24 hours on cold days, and nothing warms you up better than the sound of those cars going by.
Before I let you go, I would like to share with those particular individuals or listeners who aren't familiar with the different types of cars that are on the track. During the 24-hour, and of course that's, 2 12-hour sessions back-to-back, 24 hours of wide-open racing. A driver has, some 3 hours that a driver can be on the track, and you correct me if I'm wrong. What the differential in speed between the 3 different classes during the Rolex, what's the fastest speed of the slowest cars and the fastest speed of the fastest cars?
Well, where the differential in speed comes in a lot of times is in braking. It's how fast they get into the braking zones and out of the braking zones, and that's what's wild is that you'll have a car that'll come into a braking zone and never hit his brakes while the other guy's backing it down as soon as he gets there in the GTD or the GTLM. The prototypes are exotics. They're Daytona prototypes, and they got Cadillac and Mazda and Nissan, Acura running their motors in those cars. And then you have the LMP2s, which are also in the prototype class. And they have things like Dallara and Liger and Orca and Riley as chassis with the LMP2 motors in them. And those things probably top out at over 200 miles an hour in some places on this track. Well, when you think about the GTLM, and that's what we call the GT Le Mans, which is pro. These are manufacturer-backed cars. You got BMW, Chevy, Ferrari, Ford, Porsche, and these teams are coming out here to show off what the manufacturer can do. And it's amazing the teams they put together. This started out with 2 or 3 cars. I believe we've got 8 or 9 now. We've added a few to that. I think Penske has stepped up and has jumped into that now with the Acura. So we're seeing some new cars in that series. They probably top out not quite as fast as the prototypes, but they'll hit some high speeds up there of 100, 180, 190 miles an hour. Your GTDs is what we call the Pro-Am. And these are, you get some off-brands like Lamborghini, Ferrari, BMW running in this series. And these are teams that are somewhat manufactured back, but they don't have the top-end speed quite as much as what the manufacturers do. And they're probably hitting 170, 175. But the braking is where the difference is because the prototypes can go into these corners at a high rate of speed and brake way after these other guys do. And that's on the infield road course and out on the speedway. So we've got 3.5 miles of track here. It's amazing to see what these guys do around heavy traffic. And that's what's going on now with this practice.
So, Terry, what is the, I don't know if this is advertised horsepower, but what is the maximum horsepower of one of those vehicles, and what does it weigh? Because I'd like to give an example of like a street car. I mean, you take a Corvette or even a Viper with 400 or 500 horsepower that weighs 3,500 pounds. So let's take a standard street rod that's a 500 horsepower or maybe 550, like some of the Jags, and then it weighs 4,500 or 4,000 pounds. So what are those? How do those cars compare?
Well, we've had that actually. I think we had a 12-cylinder out here a couple years back. They brought in here, and it was heavy and big and had 12 cylinders in it, and they decided that just in the long run, running for 24 hours, that's not a good way to survive in this race. That's rough on a motor. But horsepower runs up, 800 to 1,000 horsepower. It varies. There's limits on some of these that, they don't want these GTDs and GTLMs going excessive speed. Even on the prototypes, they've done some things. It's funny, you walk up to these spaceship-looking cars, and literally that's what they look like. And the closer you get to them, you're like, is there a car under there? Right. And then you see in the top of the wheel wells where they've actually cut away the fenders so they won't take off if they get turned around backwards. Literally holes in the fenders to keep them on the ground.
That's
because
amazing.
They literally want to fly. Yeah. So speeds is what it's about. And horsepower, if you think about it, some of these guys, you get into the GTDs and GTLMs, it's not about horsepower. It's what the transmission does with that power and how it converts it to the track.
Exactly.
You've got four-wheel drive cars out here. You've got technology. This is where the technology for your car starts.
And Terry, tickets to the Rolex 24, which is coming up, folks, January the 27th. So for those folks who would like to go to Daytona or going to be in Daytona or in the surrounding area, we've got about 30 seconds left here. How do we get tickets to the Rolex 24, which is the big
go
event?
to Daytona National Speedway on the internet, I think pitstop.com. But remember, this is just the kickoff for Speed Weeks and all of our events. Daytona 500 coming up. We've got motorcycle racing in March, and then we wind that up with the spring turkey run. So this is a kickoff for all the events in Daytona, and thanks, Bobby, for letting me be a part of the Bobby Likis Show.
Well, thank you so much, and as always, it's great to have you. One of these days, I truly am going to get back to Daytona, and we'll do a live broadcast from the track. But in the meantime, your reports are so valuable because they let the world know what's going on in the center of the automotive racing universe, which is Daytona Beach, the International Daytona track. So thank you again, Terry. Love to have you on as always.
Thank you, Bobby, and I'm living the dream. It doesn't get any better than this.
Folks, there you have it. I'm going to come back and take your calls from Robert and Victor and yours at 888 Car Clinic.
Today's vehicles face challenging conditions, and with more than 150 electrical accessories for safety and comfort, like backup cameras and entertainment systems, they're like second homes. Johnson Controls is the world's largest producer of automotive AGM batteries that are precision engineered to reliably, durably, and safely meet these challenging needs. AGM batteries have up to 2 times the life of traditional batteries and are non-spillable. The next time you need a battery, ask for an AGM battery to meet today's driving and electrical demands. For more information, visit autobatteries.com. This vehicle maintenance spotlight is brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Nothing's more important than your vehicle's brakes. Though there's no substitute for scheduled maintenance, also be on the lookout for signs of trouble, like your car pulling or a shuddering steering wheel. Trust the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts to help you choose the brakes that are an exact fit for your vehicle. Brands you trust like Brake Best Select, and Wagner Thermal Quiet at guaranteed low prices. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. I have another vehicle repair to spotlight. A 99 Jeep Cherokee came into the shop recently with a P0303 misfire fault on cylinder number 3. The misfire was erratic, which made diagnosing the problem more difficult. Other shops had thrown parts at it, installing new plug wires, plugs, fuel injector, and some technical service bulletin updates. Nothing worked. We used a borescope, a type of inside-the-engine camera, to inspect the number 3 cylinder, and sure enough saw heavy carbon deposits around the exhaust valve. No traditional cleaner will work on a carbonized exhaust valve. Enter Berryman Products B12 Chem Tool Fuel System Cleaner. We removed the plug, brought the piston around so the exhaust valve was just opening, and filled the cylinder with Berryman B12 Chem Tool Fuel System Cleaner. After an overnight soak, we siphoned out the chemical and replaced the plug. Now, several weeks since the repair, and no reported problems, thanks to Berryman. Find more automotive repair and maintenance solutions at berrymanproducts.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
The airlines like to have sales. Summer getaway sales, holiday sales, winter sales. Truth is, at any moment, some airline somewhere is on sale with low fares to great destinations. Travelocity knows exactly what's going on, who's on sale, to where, and when, at over 700 airlines worldwide. We even have this nifty feature that lets you look at a calendar so that you can see exactly the days the great fares are available. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere. AOL keyword, travel.
Hung? Guess my temperature.
It's 2 a.m. Go to sleep.
Come on, one guess.
98.
Higher.
Higher, 99.
You're getting warmer. Wait, I'm getting warmer.
Cold symptoms keeping you from getting a good night's sleep? Get NyQuil, the nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head, fever so you can sleep better to feel better medicine. Use as directed.
One more guess.
100?
Yes. Tell her what she's won, Bob.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your hosts, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. How interesting, a lot going on there in Daytona, a lot going on around the nation as well. I mentioned earlier in the program about the bombogenesis. Well, what is a bomb cyclone? I won't get into that right now because we've got a couple of callers in the queue that have been there for some time, so I'll take their calls, but it's very interesting to me when you talk about the weather and the cold weather. So a bomb cyclone is something that's really a place that I wouldn't want to be, and I'm sure that those that get caught in such storms don't want to be there as well. Let's go to Robert first with the 2003 Tundra with seatbelt issues. Then we're going to go to Victor. Hannah can take your calls, and I recommend that you get in now. 888 Car Clinic, 888-227-2546. That's 227-2546. Robert, thanks for holding. Good morning and welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Well, thank you much. Thanks for taking my call.
My pleasure.
Well, I've got an 03 Tundra that I bought new. It's got about 170 some odd thousand miles on it.
Okay.
And just in the last couple of days, when I get in, the seat belt I have to pull out incrementally.
Oh,
and it's worse this morning than it was yesterday, and it's worse than it was the day before yesterday.
Incrementally,
I read something somewhere.
You mean that? You mean when you pull it, it hangs, and then you have to let it loose and pull a little more? And is that what you're saying?
Yeah, incrementally. It might take me 3 minutes to get it to where I can lock it in.
Right.
And it's getting worse. I read something somewhere, and I don't remember what it was, but there are certain things that are warranted forever. And I thought seatbelts were too, because they were required by the government back, starting back in the 70s.
Right.
I could be wrong, but what can I do maintenance-wise to make that the seatbelt behave?
Well, there's number one. There is nothing that is warranted forever.
Okay.
However, there are some. Forever, meaning the life of the car, as we know it. There are some exceptions. There's, for instance, a protection plan that we provide for our car clinic customers. If they follow our guidelines for our pre-repair, which is the prevention of repair, it's a program that we created in-house and we service trademarked, and it's really worked well. And whenever, and I'll just touch on this, whenever, let's say we have a car that's less than 36,000 miles, or the second tier is 75,000. So if you've got a car that has less than 75,000 miles and we service the automatic transmission, then we have a protection plan that puts a given amount of cash in a bank in your vehicle, in that VIN's number, not your car, the car itself, so that if you sell the car, that protection plan cash goes with that transmission service, and that cash is $1,000. If the car has less than 36,000 miles, it's a tier 1. That cash is $2,000, and that means forever. So it's long. Now, what's the catch? Number one, it doesn't cost anything for the protection plan. It does cost you to service the transmission. So our independent backer, which is an international, I guess, an insurance company or funding source from our vendor, covers these breakdowns or issues that we have with our customers, because they know that if you change the fluid, and here's the catch, you have to change the fluid every 30,000 miles. So if you change the fluid in your vehicle every 30,000 miles, the chances of having a problem are almost nil. And so that's how you can do the numbers. But getting back to your statement that something's covered forever by the manufacturer, that's not true. Seatbelts are not covered. In fact, the longest coverage is on catalytic converters and emissions, and the CAT's covered 80,000 miles or 10 years, as I remember. Now, fast forward to your seatbelt. There's a weight or a pendulum or an anchor inside a seatbelt, so that the seatbelt can be loose across your chest, but upon impact, then it immediately the pendulum swings forward and locks that belt. So that system is down behind the seat or within the interior of the car where you can't see it. So there's nothing you can do. But I would imagine that what's happened is over time it has gotten, if it's lubed, it's gotten dirty and dust and what have you in there. But I don't know that unit, it can be taken apart and cleaned, because whenever we have an issue like that, Robert, we replace the assembly with a new belt, because we don't want to have the liability of taking anything like that apart. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
And I'm actually looking at a schematic right now while you're talking, and
Yes.
I see what you're talking about as
Yes,
far
sir.
as the pendulum.
Right. It's a weight, and in fact, sometimes I will slow to turn into my driveway, which is sort of down the hill, and just the fact that the car is headed downhill, and I slow into my driveway, which is not a fast pace slow, my belt will not let me go forward, and I have to reach up. And I do this, I have to reach up to the mirror and push the button to open the garage door, because that's where the button is. And I can't reach it because my belt won't let me. So I have to, in the middle of this, and it only happens like a couple, 3 times a week, I have to relax and ease off and then ease forward, because my belt trigger is so active. You know, that trigger point at which it locks up and it won't let you go forward holds your body. And so it's a little bit aggravating, but providing when you considering the safety aspect, so I can put up with some aggravation because I know that in an accident it's going to immediately grab me. And also, did you know, Robert, that seat belts, in fact, VW had some issues with this, have explosive devices so that when an accident occurs, there's an explosion in the seat track that will grab that seat belt and pull you and hold you in place. I don't know if you knew that or not.
No, I did not.
Yeah. But anyway, so the short story is there's nothing that I know of that you could do, but as an individual, if you'd like to take it apart, so be it. That no one can stop you, and that's your decision. As a shop owner, I would replace the seatbelt with a new one, and then I would know that I'm healthy and safe again. That makes sense?
Yes,
yes, sir.
It does.
Okay, that answer your question?
Talking to you and looking at the schematic, I'm just going to replace it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hey, that's the best 5 minutes we ever spent together, because next week, if you have an accident and your belt works the way it should, then you'll call me and say, I'm still around. Okay. All right, my friend.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you a lot. Let's go to New York and take a call from Victor. And folks, Hannah will take your call at 888-CAR-CLINIC, 888-227-2546. So, Victor, I know you have a 99 Mercedes. First, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Thank you for taking my call.
You're welcome.
I have a problem with this car from the day one I bought it.
Okay.
It does not start up in the winter. It takes like 30 tries. In the summertime, it starts up like a champ. Not in the winter time. Not in this kind of weather that we have now.
Right.
I want to know, what is your opinion?
Well, that car should light off. And the weather you're talking what, 10-degree weather?
Yes, similar to this.
Okay.
Yeah. Under 30 degrees is always like that. I mean, 20, 30 tries it takes to start up. It starts up for a split second and dies.
Well,
it
Victor,
starts up a split second and dies.
That is not acceptable, and that is not that car should, for all intents and purposes. Now, granted, you have to use synthetic oil and when you get temperatures down below 30 degrees, because synthetic oil, and forget the brand, we're not talking about the brand of oil here, but we're talking about synthetic oil. You have to use a synthetic oil because synthetic oil flows more smoothly through the engine in cold temperatures, because the base stock of a quart of oil, and just a quick lesson here, 75 to 80% of a quart of oil is the base stock. And then the other 20% is that independent or individual brand name, whether it's Mobil One or Castrol or other brands. Regardless of what brand it is, that 20% is their proprietary mix, but it still has to fall within the API specifications and new car specs. But getting back to the base stock of conventional motor oil is made of different size molecules. The base stock of synthetic oil is made of all same size molecules. So same size molecules will flow more evenly and smoothly through an engine, especially in cold weather. Now, getting back to your particular problem, it's not oil, but if you're not running synthetic oil, you should be, number one. Number two, I believe that you've got a fuel system problem, and that fuel system problem could mean what's called an accumulator. And your fuel system has an accumulator, just like you think of a balloon filled with air, and then think of a small, tiny hole that lets that balloon and bleed off. Well, your fuel system has a bladder that stores an accumulated amount of fuel under pressure, so that when you need it immediately, you've got it. Now, if the car is running, the engine's running, you already have the pressure, because the electric fuel pump creates the pressure and the regulator maintains the pressure. Overnight, that pressure bleeds off. That's normal. But here's what I suggest that you do. And try this, and you can try it in the morning. Do not start the car. Do not go to the crank mode, which means don't do that. Turn the key when you put the key in, just think of me tomorrow, put the key in the ignition, turn it to the run position, but do not crank it. turn the key back off and cycle that key from off to run 5 times.
Okay.
5 times. And then on the 6th time, see if it starts. And if it does, and the reason I share this with you is that almost all vehicles have a booster or a preliminary kick-in for the fuel pump. The fuel pump works during the cranking mode, and it works when the engine is running. But it also comes on about 3/4 of a second when you go from off to run. It goes, and you can hear that in some cars, more so in others. And what that does, it primes the pump. It primes the system. So what you want to do is you want to prime your system 5 times, and then on the 6th time, go ahead and start it. If that makes a difference, go to your local shop and tell them that your fuel system is losing its prime overnight. And with that, I got a break coming up. Victor, good luck.
Folks, it's time for another question from the Car Clinic inbox. Dear Bobby, I have 3 older vehicles, all with over 200,000 miles. 2 have fuel injection, and 1 has a carburetor. What can I do to help keep these vehicles on the road? Preventive maintenance will keep any vehicle running well. Checking fluids like engine oil, power steering, brake, transmission, and coolant. Be mindful of cracks or frays on belts, and be sure to keep your tires properly inflated. You might also consider treating the fuel system. Berryman's B12 Chem Tool High Mileage Edge is made specifically for high mileage vehicle engines. It features Berryman's proprietary high-energy solvent technology, also called HEST, and it's designed to treat the entire fuel system. Berryman's B12 High Mileage Edge cleans fuel injectors, carburetors, intake valves, combustion chambers, fuel pump, tanks, and lines. Regular use will help improve fuel economy, restore power, reduce emissions, and helps to keep older vehicles running longer and better. All these benefits can be realized by just adding to your fuel tank at fill-up. It is fast, simple, and economical. Learn more at BerrymanProducts.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Waking up can be a chore, but mornings knocking on my front door. Know just what I'll do. Put on a pot of Folgers brew. Mountain grown aroma hits the spot. Helps me give all that I've got. An opportunity to start out smiling and happy. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
I'm privileged to be involved with Capstone Adaptive Learning, formerly known as United Cerebral Palsy, for over 25 years. Since 1953, Capstone has provided quality care programs for persons with developmental disabilities like autism, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, and intellectual disabilities. Dr. Sherry White with her team are dedicated to Capstone's clients, and 100% of your contributions stay local to serve those in this community. Go to capstoneadaptivelearning.org to see the difference Capstone makes.
Technology moves at the speed of innovation, and today, that's lightning fast. So when you get your hands on the latest tech, don't forget to do the right thing with your old devices. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old tech device as easy as purchasing new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the responsible recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find lots of tips to simplify your recycling, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Television sets, video game consoles, smartphones, tablets, they're all recyclable. Don't let them clog up your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org. You're sharp enough to get the latest tech tools into your home. Now be responsible enough to get your old devices to the recycler. That's greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back. We're live. It's a beautiful day, actually, and we're coming to you from a center of the automotive universe. And folks, this is a studio inside our all-digital studio that we designed, made by Acoustic Systems in Austin, Texas. And we're located in Pensacola, Florida, on Florida's beautiful Gulf Coast. Studios are off grade, so the floor weighs 10,000 pounds and rests on 5-inch square blocks of rubber. so I'm isolated. It's the perfect place to be in a storm. And I mentioned a storm earlier, not that we would see along the Gulf Coast of Florida, but certainly in the areas of New York. And I meant to ask the gentleman from New York about if he was familiar with a bomb cyclone. It's a bombogenesis. But I will do that. I'll ask Eric, and Eric's on the phone now from Pennsylvania. Eric, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Are you familiar with bomb cyclones or bombogenesis?
That's funny you should ask. I happen to work for a weather company. Now, I'm not a meteorologist.
You got to be kidding me.
Yeah, what a coincidence. Anyhow, we know them as nor'easters. The fellow that coined this term bomb cyclone, I don't know for sure. I can't say. But I think that he just kind of drummed up some attention to his website.
Well, what's really interesting about that is, as I read about the bomb cyclones or weather bombs, and they're, for lack of a simpler word, they're wicked winter storms that rival the strength of hurricanes and are called the bomb cyclone because of the process that creates them. And bomb cyclones tend to happen more, of course, obviously in the winter months, and with the hurricane force winds can cause flooding and heavy snow, and it's just really interesting. Let's get into your vehicle needs, because I want to share with our listeners, and now that I've got you and you work for the weather company, I think that's just absolutely unbelievable. It's like karma here. How may I help you first?
Well, I'm an amateur mechanic. I service my own vehicles and some of my friends, this, that, and the other, you know.
Sure.
But one of the problems that I have is trying to find a place that I can source wires from. So I have a factory service manual with, the wiring schematic in it, and it tells me, okay, you got a 16-gauge brown wire with a violet stripe on it.
Right.
Well, sometimes that's hard to find. I was wondering if you might know a place that might offer different gauge wires with, the factory striping so that I can replace it. So that way, if I go back in there later on, I can follow the manual, the factory wiring diagram.
The answer is no. You're the first person that's ever asked. That is that makes a lot of sense. And to that end, what we would do, well, the only thing I would know, here's what you can get. You can get red, as you know, red, blue, black, yellow, green, white, violet. So you can get most any color of wire, and in any gauge, anything from 22 gauge all the way up to number one cable or double alt cable. But I think that and as I understand, what you're wanting to do is, if you have a situation where you have to replace a wire, Eric, you want to be able to solder in a same color wire so that you could follow it later on in case you had to go back. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, I'll tell you what, you are a purist, and I love it. You sound like me. It's something I would want to do, but it's one of those things that, having been in the automotive industry and repair for 47 years, there's some things that I have to learn to live with. And one of those is the fact that I can't find practically, and when you think about it, of course, I do have a better answer for you. And here's the answer. We have, on occasion, replaced total harnesses on cars. We did this recently on a GM truck because rodents got into the vehicle and chewed the wires, and not only ruined the harness, but also ruined the ECM because it shorted the wire where the rodent tied it together. And of course,
yes, sir.
Anyway, so we ended up, after we replaced, and the owner of the truck said, well, I'll just buy the wires versus a claim. But then when we replaced the wires and the driver in the computer, in the ECM for the number 6 cylinder was bad, which happened to be the cylinder that was chewed on, when that driver was bad in the computer, and we had to spend another $1,000 on the computer, we called his insurance company, and his homeowners, I guess it was homeowners, took care of the whole bill, and minus his deductible, of course. So we saved him a lot of money, and we made the vehicle back as new. Now, I said all that to say this: if you think we threw that old harness away, think again, because think, Eric, this is gold. I mean, it's gold.
No kidding.
Now,
no kidding. I cruise eBay all the time
Oh,
looking for
I
wiring
know.
harnesses.
And let me tell you this. We have not, and this has been 6 months ago, we have yet to use one clip or one terminal or one piece of that wire, but we still have that in our storage room. And I think a half a dozen times when we've had other cars that came in with, you know how the ends, the male-female prongs deteriorate, like alternators is really, that alternators are one of the biggest challenges, because the end of an alternator battery wire will burn off. And you replace the alternator, but then you've got to put a new terminal on the wire. And as you know, you don't just replace the terminal. You gotta go back into the wire until you find fresh cut and fresh wire. And sometimes there's not enough cable, so you got to add lengths to that cable.
Yes, sir. And then that changes your resistance whenever you splice in a
Oh,
new,
yes, sir. You are so
repair.
right. You're so right. Let me ask you this question: Are you a big user of heat shrink?
Yes, when possible. I like to use male-female connectors, and then I'll put dielectric grease in there. Then I'll put the heat shrink over top and shrink it in so that hopefully it can seal some of that dielectric in there.
Well,
living in central Pennsylvania, especially in the wintertime, we got salt all over the roads, and it's very hard on vehicles.
I know it is. In fact, as I understand, every front end rack in your area, in climates where they use salt on roads, which is not only your area, but north of the Mason-Dixon line, have torches, because you can't undo the bolts of suspension. You just have to torch the old units off and replace the linkages with new. Otherwise, you'd spend 5 hours trying to align a car, and where it would cost $100 to replace the part. So you just replace the part with new. Well, Eric, let's. So you and I are in accordance, and the answer is that you can't find the wire when you need it, and that I know of, and you would know if you've looked online, and then the challenge that you would have is you as a rule you don't need 5 feet of this wire. You only need one chafe where it's burned or cut or what have you. And most of the time when you're trying to repair a wiring harness, you can find enough of the wire in the loom that you don't have to add a length. You agree with that?
For the most part, yes. But I'm mostly dealing with older vehicles. I'm into old antique stuff.
Well, you
so
can buy.
You do have the wires are generally corroded throughout the line.
Oh, okay. But you can buy original equipment harnesses for antique cars. Did you know that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So that's what I'd recommend, is buying the complete new harness for the car, if you're talking about those old fiber wrapped wires. Mercedes-Benz, I think of old, Mercedes-Benz has a propensity to have decayed wires, and also you can even buy new ends, for instance, to some of the high intensity lighting. The light bulb is so hot that it will deteriorate and melt the ends. Now, in my studio here, we have ceramic terminals with prongs that light our 300 and 500 watt studio lights. And so that's the way the temperature rises. But anyway, I think that what you're going to find is that for a classic car, you buy the harness assembly, and for all others, you just do what you've done, and you use a heat shrink and the dielectric and go from there. Let me give you the name of a company that has it's an OE wiring site. You got a pen?
Not on me in a moment, but I got a pretty good memory.
Electric Limited, but it's not electric, it's electric. So forget the E.
L-E-T-R-I-C?
Yeah, L-E-T-R-I-C, limited.com. And Jonathan.
I remember that.
Yeah, Electric Limited. Jonathan just brought this in to me, and I'd never heard of this site, but it says OEM wiring site. Well, that's good. Thank you, Jonathan. So there you go, Eric. You and I both learned something, and now I want to ask you about a bomb.
Oh, here we go.
Well, hey, it's your turn with the mic now. The nonprofit Car Care Council, they're a partner of ours, offers 6 quick tips to help vehicles perform during the winter months like you and I are talking about. And let me run through those, and then I'd like to get your input. And folks, we're talking with Eric in Pennsylvania, who understands about cyclones, the bomb cyclone. But the Car Care Council says, number one, and Eric, we'll just depend and determine whether or not we want to agree with all of this or not. Keep the gas tank at least half full, which decreases the chance of moisture forming in the gas lines and possibly freezing. I agree with that. In fact, the more fuel you can keep in the tank, the less chance you have of moisture on the walls of the tank. Would you agree with that?
Yes and no. Yes, I agree with it. It's always a good idea to keep your tank half full,
right.
At least.
Yes.
But also at the same time, they changed the fuel blends in the wintertime so that they add more butane to it, so it won't freeze.
Well, yes, and so that is true, and of course this information is has been around some time, and so the information is it's current, but also applies to older cars as well. But again, cars today that have ethanol blends, ethanol doesn't freeze because it's alcohol, so that helps anti-freeze as well. But number two, with the Car Care Council, is check the tire pressure, including the spare, because for every 10 degrees we lose in ambient temperature, you lose 1 plus psi in your tires. That is a normal process that happens, and I've never seen a tire make pressure except for a racing tire on a hot Daytona strip is what I've seen that, but that doesn't. Yeah. And number three, have the exhaust system checked, because carbon monoxide, because you got the windows up, you don't want any danger of losing consciousness due to exhaust leak. Number four, and this really makes sense, allow the car a little more time to warm up when the temperatures are below freezing, so the oil in the engine and the transmission can circulate, and also the power steering. Number five, change to a lower viscosity oil in the winter. I say run low viscosity year round. And so, but drivers in sub-zero temperatures can drop their weight from 1030 to 530 to make it easier to start, because again, 530 and 1030 at operating temperature are both 30 weight oil, but the 5 will flow better when it's cold. And number six, from the Car Care Council, consider using cold weather washer fluid and special winter windshield wiper blades if you live in a place where it's especially harsh winter conditions. And I think that's all great information from the Car Care Council. And Eric, living there in Pennsylvania, what's your input?
Yes, sir, I agree with all of those things, and I'd like to add one. But first, I'd like to say that the tires with the PSI, I just checked the tire pressure in my minivan today, and I had to add 10 pounds to it.
Wow.
I was down in the 20s, and I needed to be up in the mid-30s.
Yes.
The second thing, oil, absolutely. I just changed the oil on my minivan to 530 Royal Purple Synthetic. I run Royal Purple and everything. I think that stuff's fantastic.
It is good oil.
Now, the thing I'd like to add to that is your engine coolant. You didn't mention that, but if you come from, say somewhere down in Florida where maybe you run water in your radiator, if you come on vacation up north, say you're a snowbird, the next thing you know, the temperature drops down into the zeros, you might have a problem.
All good advice. It's all good advice, Eric. And I will tell you, and I really had never heard of the bomb cyclone, the bombogenesis. I know. Hey, it sure was great to talk with you, and thanks for your call. And again, let me know after you have used this site, theelectriclimited.com. Let me know how they filled your needs. I'm just, because for a lot of those of us in the automotive service business, we have to use what we can find at local auto parts stores, and of course, no auto parts store stocks original factory wiring. That just doesn't happen.
Yep, I agree with you.
Okay, all right.
Another trick that I found is wiring harnesses out of heavy equipment. They use a lot of really big, heavy gauge stuff, and a lot of it is, very different colors.
Yeah. Hey, my friend, thank you for your call, and stay warm as possible.
Hey, you too. Absolutely. Thank you.
Well, folks, there you have it. How interesting is that? A cyclone. And one final thing which was not mentioned, but you need to know that in cold weather, as it is in hot, the thermostat plays a crucial role in controlling the working temperature of the engine, and that engine must run the closer to 200 degrees, the better. And to that end, we're just about out of time for this hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Let me give you a site to go to that will give you the information that we talked about today. It's carcare.org, and also Motorrad, MOTORAD, Motorrad.com for information on thermostats. Thermostats are the heart of the engine operating temperature of your engine. And believe it or not, if you have a thermostat that is not operating, the engine will use more fuel if it runs cooler. So you want that 200-degree engine. It's all good. Hey, another great hour coming up. Don't touch that dial. I'm Bobby Likis. Likis, you'll love us.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
Diablo Sport tuning systems give you the ability to easily boost your vehicle's power without even popping the hood. But don't take my word for it. PSCA racer Alex Rosio has been using Diablo Sport products on her Dodge Magnum since the beginning of her racing career. According to Alex, Diablo Sport tuners have been an essential part of her success. There really isn't a better line of products that offer quick tuning and diagnostics. Learn more at DiabloSport.com. And while you're there, check out the new Intune i3 Performance Programmer. That's DiabloSport.com.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
If you're familiar with the Kulseford section of the newspaper, you probably understand this message quite well. You see, in the Kulseford section, everything gets abbreviated. Consonants, vowels, prepositional phrases, the very building blocks of our language are thrown right out the window. And that makes it difficult when you're trying to sell your car. You've got a limited amount of space to work with, and by the time you abbreviate the description of your car down to a couple of fragmented sentences, it sounds less like a car and more like a Bluck sedan with sniffed like new condition Le Mans. No wonder more people are selling their cars through eBay Motors. They can post unlimited text and photo descriptions, and with a nationwide marketplace, they're likely to sell it for more. Plus, both parties can be covered by eBay's Vehicle Protection Program. Buyers are happy, sellers are happy, and no one's abbreviating. eBay Motors, a better way to sell your car.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome to this hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Also, our 888 number is alive and open at 888-227-2546. So, it's a cold winter day. It's beautiful weather. We're broadcasting from here along the Gulf Coast of Florida in Pensacola, Florida. And we're coming to you from the center of what we say the automotive universe. And folks, our studio is located within a 15,000 square foot automotive service shop. The studio and Bobby Likis Car Clinic broadcast, global cast now at watchbobbylive.com HD, comes to you every Saturday from 10 till noon for 2 hours. We do not have all of our stations across the nation that air both hours, so just remember that you can go to watchbobbylive.com and catch the program, or you can get it on your iTunes and your podcast, and we upload the show about an hour or so after every show. This edition of Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you in part by Diablo Sport and the new Intune i3 performance programmer. You can boost your vehicle's power without even popping the hood, and you can learn more at diablosport.com, D-I-A-B-L-O sport.com. I'll take your calls when I come back. That's 888-227-2546. Miss Hannah will take your call, put you in the queue.
Your car and your life have a lot of moving parts, and your car's battery is what keeps it all going. Here's something to keep in mind. While all batteries may look the same on the outside, it's what's inside that matters. So be sure to choose a battery with power frame technology inside. It's stronger, more durable, and keeps you going longer. That means you can count on a battery with power frame to be there start after start. Here's another reason to feel good about choosing a battery with power frame inside. It's manufactured using the latest sustainable processes. You're moving fast, and you don't want anything to slow you down, especially an unreliable battery. So the next time you need to replace your car's battery, make sure you choose one with power frame technology inside. Look for power frame on the outside and know there's true strength on the inside.
Diablo Sport tuning systems boost your vehicle's power without popping the hood. But don't take my word for it. NHRA racer Bart Tobener has used Diablo Sport since 2001 and currently has an Intune i2 on his daily driver. Bart, the first to eclipse the 7-second mark with an S550 Mustang, knows horsepower. Says Bart, I'll continue to use Diablo as they lead the way in aftermarket handheld and tuning products. Drive to diablosport.com.
Lung cancer kills more people than breast, colon, and prostate cancers combined. And 80% of those diagnosed with lung cancer never smoked or quit decades ago. If you or someone you know has lung cancer, the Bonnie J. Adario Lung Cancer Foundation can help. Text the word LUNGS to 50555 to help lung cancer patients and to fund the research needed to find a cure for the world's deadliest cancer. Go to lungcancerfoundation.org for more information.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Another lending success story from LendingTree.com.
Car dealers like playing games. They play percentage points, they play markups, but I don't like playing with my money. So I got my auto loan through LendingTree.com. I filled out one simple form, a marketplace of banks and lenders competed over it, and I got 4 offers back within hours. After all, the car buying game is a lot easier to win when you're holding all the cards.
LendingTree.com. When banks compete, you win. For additional information and state license disclosures, please visit our website located at LendingTree.com.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And I want to welcome each and every one of you to this hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Every Saturday, it's really drives me, and no pun intended, to come into the studio and to share these 2 hours with each and every one of you. And my hope is, and my goal, and both, to share information that you can use that will make your life better, in as much as it has to do with transportation needs your car, whether it's a van or a truck or well, not a boat. I'm not much into boats, but there are people that are into boats, and I just happen to have one. What, don't you love the segue here, Fabio? I just happen to have a gentleman who has very much in his lifetime been into boats, and that would be Captain Jim. And Captain Jim lives in Nevada, actually in Las Vegas, and I'm going to invite him now on the air. Captain Jim, glad to have you join us. So yes, you do know about boats. Is that correct?
Yeah, I spent a couple of days on one time.
Yeah. So, folks, so to be clear here, Captain Jim was the captain for John Wayne on his boat. How long was that boat? 134?
Yeah, 136 feet. 136. It was a converted minesweeper into a yacht.
Whatever possessed John Wayne to, and how did he get that boat? And can you tell that story in 30 seconds or less?
Well, no, it's a little longer, but I'll try. He bought it from a friend of his from Seattle who was in the lumber business, and he had bought it at a auction or something, I think. Anyway, Wayne bought it from him and then started slowly converting it. He actually took the vessel to Europe. That was long before I worked for him, though. And then they came back and did more work on it, and it was kind of a gradual thing. So, but it was a Navy boat, and he loved the Navy. He loved anything military, and he always wanted to be in the military, but was unable.
Wow. I did not know that. And then how long did you work with him, Captain Jim?
A little over 2 years is all, and that was towards the end of his life.
Well, I've heard some stories that you shared with us before, but let's get into your phone call. What can I do to help you today?
Well, I think I talked to, excuse me, I think I talked to you before about the problem I was having in the Explorer, getting a funny smell when I would accelerate hard. Get a funny smell in it, and you thought it might be a leak in the heater coil. And, I checked for that, and it wasn't. And then all of a sudden I got a letter from Ford on a recall. And the interesting part is I didn't learn that much from Ford other than what they said they were going to do.
And what was that? What is that?
Well, from the service report I have, it says perform underbody inspection and seal air extractor. Inspect liftgate drain valve, whatever that is. And replace liftgate weather seal, inspect liftgate spoiler, inspect climate control module, reprogramming it. So that's all it says.
Okay, so let's take the most salient part of that, the liftgate seal, and of course, if you are driving a car and you put the liftgate down, the back of the car will swirl, the exhaust and the reversions from like the wake of a boat, in your terms, will cause that draft to come up in the car. So if you've got just say a regular healthy automobile and you crack the vent window back when we had vent windows, and one of the rear windows was down, or even if it were up, that would cause air to be drawn from the outside into the car and could cause that smell, especially if you had a leaking trunk mold, rubber molding, or in your case, that rear door molding. So that's one of the things. Now, the vent that Ford is talking about, all cars have on the HVAC. You can have on maximum air conditioner or recirculate, you shut off the outside air and you recirculate the air that's in the automobile. On non-recirculate or normal vent, which is what it defaults to, all cars do, which opens up the outside blend door, air comes in through the cowl, which is the base of the windshield, into the cockpit of the vehicle. Well, when it does, and you have the windows up, which you do in the summer with air conditioner or in the winter with the heat on, that pressurizes the cabin. And by pressurizing the cabin, that air has to get out, and there are exits for that air to get out, the rear of the car. Most of those exits are under the bumper on the right quarter panel and left quarter panel underneath either the bumper or the cladding, I'll call it, that plastic lower half cladding that a lot of cars you see. But all cars have exits built in, and these are like one-way flapper valves, so that if you imagine having a window and then having a rubber tarp that falls down over the window, and it seals the outside air from coming in because it's shaped therefore that way. But if the interior of the house or that window gets pressure, which it does in a car, it blows that rubber away. And when it does, when it lifts that rubber, it allows air to escape. And if those valves, and they're a valve, but they're sort of a rudimentary valve at best, if those valves are not sealing, then you get dust in the car or exhaust fumes in the car. So I guess my question to you is, did you take the vehicle into the dealer, or have you?
Yes, I did.
And
in fact, I was reading from the report that they gave me back when I picked it up.
And share with us what happened.
Well, nothing really. They had it for a whole day, 24 hours, and probably because they were just so busy. But when I ever noticed a funny smell is when we would accelerate hard. And I tried accelerating hard, and I noticed I didn't notice it. But time will tell, I guess. I need to drive it some more.
Well, yes.
Since I got it.
And then, of course, summertime, you're probably going to see more about that. Now, to that end, the reprogramming, because, see, that's sort of out in left field. When you think about we talked about physical inspections, and we talked about the physical tailgate seal, and we talked about the physical flaps, the vents. So what does that have to do with the electronics? The reprogramming of the electronics probably has, and like most cars have, when you nail the throttle, and this is not true for a lot of cars, but it is true especially for lower horsepower automobiles like four-cylinders, and I can only assume that is what Ford's going to change in your vehicle. When you nail the throttle under heavy acceleration, it shuts off the air conditioner compressor so that you can take that 10 or 12 horsepower and use it to get you around the traffic that you're trying to, the reason that you accelerated heavily. You see what I'm saying?
I think you just explained it to me. That was the key thing I didn't understand.
Yes, that would be.
Didn't realize that.
Yes, sir. That would be the reasoning. I mean, that's just off the top of my head, but I get some of my best information that way because it's just from years of experience. So when you nail the throttle, and our little smart car, Captain Jim, has this function. So if it's in the dead of summer and the humidity is, typically 75-80% here in Florida, and you nail that little car to get up on the on-ramp, of an interstate, it takes you a quarter of a mile before the air conditioner ever comes back on. It still blows, but the compressor doesn't work because it's got an automatic shutdown. So I can only assume that Ford is changing the way the blend doors and the air conditioner compressor is controlled when you get under heavy acceleration, and to that end, they should leave it alone is what they should do, so that air goes out the back versus turning off the compressor. So yeah, please do monitor and get back with us.
Yeah, I'll do that. I do have a V6 in it, and can I give you a quick story about a smart car?
Well, we've got a hard break coming up. Can you do it in 20 seconds, 30 seconds? Please do.
Yes. I was accelerating onto the freeway, and I hit 70 miles an hour, and I thought I was doing really good. And I look in my mirror, and here comes a smart car around me, and he went tearing off into the fast lane, and he had to be doing 80, 85.
Oh,
and it just surprised me.
Well, yeah, it wasn't a yellow car with Bobby Likis on the side of it, was it?
No, it wasn't.
Okay, that's enough said there. Hey, my friend, always great to hear from you, Captain Jim. You take
and
care.
I'll let you know how it goes.
Yeah, do that. Okay, we're going to take a short break. We're going to come back and talk with Larry, who's got a Dodge Caravan with some brake issues, and your calls at 888-227-2546. Folks, recently we had a four-cylinder 2014 Nissan Frontier in the shop. The customer said the vehicle wasn't running well, nothing specific, but fuel mileage was down and the vehicle had lost its zip. As he explained, it's a manual transmission, so I know what it should feel like, and it's just not right. The suggested maintenance and ignition service were up to date, and there were no trouble codes. So what was the problem? The answer lies with today's complex engines. While the maintenance schedule was on time, engines today are prone to carbon deposit formation, and fuel system cleaning is a key piece of the puzzle. Professional fuel system cleaning is an option, but a less expensive alternative is the use of a pour-in fuel system cleaner. We use Berryman B12 Chem Tool in the shop. It features Berryman's proprietary high-energy solvent, or HEST technology. We poured a bottle of Berryman B12 Chem Tool into the Frontier, and after just one tank of gas, MPG improved and the vehicle regained its zippiness. For more information, drive to BerrymanProducts.com. That's BerrymanProducts.com. Car repairs can get expensive, and most folks don't have spare money laying around for them. That's where brands like K-Seal can really be a lifesaver. A vehicle recently came into our car clinic service shop and was using a lot of coolant. A test showed an internal coolant leak, head gaskets likely. This was an older vehicle, so there was definitely some question as to whether it was worth the fix, as repairs could easily cost a few $1,000s. The car was still nice and safe, and the customer was not particularly ready to buy another vehicle. From our past experience and our car clinic listener stories, we poured a bottle of K-Seal into the cooling system, topped off the level, and took it for a test drive and let it cool. The owner continued to drive the car for a week or so, checking the coolant level daily, and pretty soon, the level stabilized. K-Seal did the trick. That was several months ago, and it's still holding. In this case, K-Seal turned a coolant leak casualty into a cash saver. You can pick up K-Seal at automotive retailers everywhere and learn more about K-Seal at kseal.com. That's kseal.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Telephone tip.
From Geico Auto Insurance. When calling Geico to switch your car insurance, you will not need acetaminophen, naproxen, indomethacin, ibuprofen, a cold compress, an on-call acupuncturist, or any other pain remedy. In 15 minutes, you could save 15% or more. If it were any more painless, you could do it in your sleep, which is theoretically possible since we offer complete 24-hour service. Call 1-800-947-AUTO, 1-800-947-AUTO. Geico Direct, the sensible alternative.
When you purchase the latest TV, tablet, or smartphone, don't forget to do the right thing with your old ones. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old devices as easy as buying new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find recycling tips, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Don't let your old tech tools clog your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. We'll go to Larry with a 2010 Dodge Caravan. Larry, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Bobby, can you hear me all right?
I got you loud and clear.
Good. Listen, coming off of the Blue Ridge Parkway in Virginia, and we on Highway 58 coming off of it, and it's a pretty steep grade down, and all of a sudden my brakes start pulsating as I'm slowing on, because you have to, it'll just let you drift down pretty fast, so you hold it back. Well, all of a sudden my brakes I can feel it pulsating, and then further on down that decline there, I started feeling like the brakes were getting squishy or something. What do you think was wrong with that?
Well, it sounded like an overheating situation to me. Number one, any brake pedal that pulsates because the rotor, or the drum, in your case, the rotor is not concentric. It's not true, and that means that while the wheel turns and the caliper grabs the brim like a brim of a hat, like you tip your hat. That's how a caliper works. It's like a hand that reaches out there, and the rotor is spinning, and it grabs it like you would grab a bicycle tire to slow it down. Now, it's true it would destroy your hand, but in the case of brakes and rotors and pads, that's why pads wear out, because the pad material creates heat, generates heat by the friction, and the friction slows the car down. Now, if the brim of the hat or the rotor has more than 5 thousandths run out, and a human hair is 2 thousandths. So if it has, or newspapers, 2 thousandths. So if the rotor has more than 5 thousandths run out, it will walk sideways. Well, you're not going sideways, you're going in a straight direction, straight down the road. So anything that is lateral causes the car to shimmy, shake, or your brake pedal or your steering wheel to pulsate, and that's exactly what you're happening. Now, with regard to the squishy thing, to me, when you overheat brakes, and that's hard to do, but I imagine under your circumstances it did happen. What happens is, if the brake fluid has moisture in it, it will boil, and especially right there in the caliper. And when it boils, because it has water, it has air in it, and you can compress air. So if you can compress air, you have no brakes, because all you're doing is blowing a balloon up, and you can't put pressure on the brakes. Whereas you cannot compress a liquid, and that's why brake fluid should be changed every 2 years, because, Larry, brake fluid is hygroscopic, which means it absorbs moisture and causes corrosion and causes the very problem that you're describing. Any questions?
Well, I've got less than 40,000 miles on it, which is not a lot of miles for that old. But
wait. It's 7 years old. Every 2 years you should change brake fluid, because time is the enemy of fluid, not miles.
Wow, so I should get that drained and put new fluid in there then.
Yes, that will not correct the pulsation. It will correct future and stop future damage to the interior of the calipers and master cylinder and those sorts of things, because water is the kiss of death in lubricating machines. In fact, the Alaskan pipeline, if you remember, some 15 years ago, was repaired. You remember the big issue we had repairing the ruptured Alaskan pipeline?
I do, yes.
Well, that company, I interviewed the CEO of that company. It's called In Situ Form, and their job, their core competency is repairing lines. And what they did, they put an inner wall in that line. And I said, well, what caused the wall to corrode? Because it transports oil. He said, water. And I thought it was so interesting that here we have a pipeline that has nothing but crude going through it 24/7, and yet it corrodes, because, again, that crude has moisture in it, and that moisture will attack the metal. And so, every machine, just like as a human, we love water. Engines do not love water. In the oil of an engine, the water is a kiss of death. Transmissions don't like water, and your braking system does not like water. So make sure you have the brakes flushed with using a machine. I don't mean pump the brakes and bleed them. Don't do that. Make sure that they use a machine to bleed the brakes, and make sure you do not use a synthetic .5 fluid in that Caravan. Use a regular .4 fluid, brake fluid. And you probably want to either replace the front rotors and pads or have them machined. You can leave that up to the inspection of the service shop. Any questions?
Well, no, but so you're saying I should use the dealer that I bought the van at, because they're the professionals to do all that, instead of taking it to my local mechanic guy there.
No, I didn't say that at all. I said that regardless of who does it, you want to use .4 fluid, and you want to let the shop measure the rotors. Of course, by law, they have to do that. And if every brake rotor in cast has a minimum thickness, and if it's a and if by machining the rotor to straighten the rotor and make it true, you end up with a rotor that is too thin because you have machined off the high end, the rougher edges, then you have to throw the rotor away and put a new one on it. And sometimes you can look at the rotor and well, rather than to say independent or a dealer, both the technicians that regardless of where they work should be ASE certified, and that's Automotive Service Excellence, and that's Master ASE certified. And you can go to asashop.org and you can find ASE certified shops in your area. Hey Larry, thank you for your call, and best of luck to you, and thanks for getting back with us today.
Thanks, Bobby.
Let's take another call from Mike. Mike, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Doing. I think last week I talked with you a little bit about the tire pressure monitoring system.
Okay.
And my next question that I didn't quite remember to answer or ask was, is there a way on the TPMS, each one of those units, to tell what the born-on date is? Now,
No.
I'm thinking about getting Schrader. They're a pretty popular brand, Schrader and Video and stuff, but just how long has that thing been sitting on the shelf? And I know that the battery isn't doing anything until it actually sees pressure, but nonetheless, I'd like to, if I'm going to put 5 of them in my car, that you have service, by the way, it had nothing to do with that, but if I'm going to put 5 of them in, go to that expense, I'd like to get the newest ones that I can get. See what I mean?
Yeah, I do. That's a great question. In fact, I have damaged ears from racing and what have you, and I have 2 computers that I had made that I wear. They're beyond hearing aids because they're programmable, and each side is Wi-Fi'd and those sorts of things. I won't go there except to say that I am very particular about the batteries that I buy for my ear computers, and I recently bought batteries made in Germany through Amazon, and I'm currently trying those batteries. And and the battery that I have is not energized, Mike, until you peel off the back of the battery, and the air then energizes the battery. So like my computer ears, I would assume, just like you, that a tire pressure monitor's battery doesn't start broadcasting until it sees X amount of pressure. Otherwise, it would have a shelf life that would dictate the very challenge that you're talking about. But I don't know. I've never really looked at. But to my knowledge, there's no born-on date because there's no federal regulation that mandates that. Whereas with tires, there is a born-on date. And to that end, I'm currently looking at tires for my car, and my #1 goal is to buy a set of tires with the youngest born-on date so that they are fresher and will last longer, even though it probably won't be an issue because they'll wear out more quickly than what they will age out. But anyway,
that was my question,
okay.
And I was just
no, the answer is no. But I'll tell you what. Let me give you a website to go to check on your question. It's called SchraderSensors.com. SHRADER Sensors. SchraderSensors.com, and they make a retrofit for TPMS. So there should be some information on that site with regard to how old a battery is and what the life of the battery is. Certainly, the companies that make those units know the age of the battery by the serial number, but you and I would never know that.
Yeah, well, that's it. Anyway, I'm going to get him at O'Reilly's.
Okay.
And I'll come in and talk to you one
All right,
time.
sounds great. Thanks for your call, Mike. Look forward to seeing you.
Bet.
Take a call from Texas, and your calls too, 888-227-2546. Speaking of batteries, before I go to Texas and Lawrence, I want you to stay right there because we have a hard break coming up. I don't want to interfere with our conversation. Batteries, and I have a special use for a battery tender because the car that I do not drive is a very important part of my life. It's a Porsche. I have one of 406 made. It's a Weissach or Weissach, Weissach, made in Germany, 1980. I've owned this car since 85, and it's as new. It's just outside my studio door, and there's a company that battery tender that with a new booster battery charger with Wi-Fi that is absolutely the epitome of what you should use to keep your battery maintained. And let me give you the name of it. It's called Power Plus 75 amp booster battery charger. And this is the neatest. The battery tender Power Plus series chargers have more power and can charge batteries big and small. But what I really like about it is integrated Wi-Fi lets you connect your charger to the internet. You get alerts. You can control your charger from your phone. Really? And the Power Plus series also gives you the power to connect your battery to the internet. And therein lies the peace of mind, knowing that your car is ready to go because you can check it anytime. And I'm going to use that in my collector car, Porsche. Even though I don't drive it often, I want it to be ready. Back with your calls after this short commercial break. Folks, being car care aware is important all year round, but winter is an especially critical time as harsher conditions can put strains on your vehicle. Here are a few items to check, courtesy of the Car Care Council. Your vehicle's tires keep you rolling down the proverbial highway. This time of year, it's smart to check tread depth before driving on icy roads, and you may want to consider special winter tires. Check tire pressure weekly during the winter, as every 10-degree drop in temperature causes a 1 pound decrease in tire pressure. Check your exhaust system for carbon monoxide leaks, as windows are more likely to be closed during this time of year. It's also a great idea to keep your gas tank half full, as this will help avoid moisture buildup in the gas lines, which could ultimately freeze this time of year. For more great tips, videos, and recommended service schedules, visit carcare.org. And while you're there, order your free copy of the Car Care Guide for your glove compartment. That's carcare.org.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
More than 1 million wild animals are killed each year illegally. Poaching is a major threat to our country's wildlife. I'm Tom Barry. I'm an actor with a desire to preserve living space for wildlife. The Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust does just that. Works with private landowners to protect wildlife, to preserve natural habitats. To learn more or to work with the Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust, call 800-729-SAVE. That's 800-729-SAVE, or visit wildlifelandtrust.org. Thank you.
Did you know 26 million Americans have kidney disease and most don't know it?
The day I was diagnosed, I didn't know what to do. I called the National Kidney Foundation, and the young lady who answered stayed on the phone with me and walked me through step by step. She too was surviving kidney disease, and she showed me there could be life after kidney disease.
Visit the National Kidney Foundation at kidney.org. Now you know.
We're a land of cynics. We don't believe anything anymore. You know why? Because we've been told we've won $1 million, that it's new and improved, that it slices and dices, that our favorite singer is still alive, that we'll be prosecuted if we cut off the tags, and of course that everything is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So when we hear the words customer service, we don't believe it. Travelocity isn't surprised if you're a little skeptical when they say they have excellent customer service, and that there's actually a pleasant face behind this website. A living, breathing person with a supercharged computer full of answers. Someone who's willing to help when you get lost, and most of all, someone that will actually pick up the phone when you call with a question or a concern. Customer service is just another example of how Travelocity puts you in control of travel. Chances are you'll never have to use it, but it's good to know it'll be there if you need it. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. I'll remind you every Saturday from 10 till noon Eastern Time, we broadcast through our terrestrial stations across the nation and also on the internet, live HD video cast, Bobby Likis Car Clinic. You can go to Watch Bobby Live, watchbobbylive.com for the HD video cast. And you can also tune into your local radio station, AM and or FM, every Saturday from 10 till noon Eastern Time, depending on your area of the country, and catch this program. And I'm really here to help you avoid breakdowns and share with you my knowledge of automobiles. That's my gig. That's what I do. Let's go to Texas and take a call from Lawrence and see if I can help Lawrence. Lawrence, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
All right, thank you for taking my call.
You're
and
welcome.
I called last week and won the a gift card, and I appreciate that. I have a friend that had a 2012 Armada, and the problem is the gas problem. You can, like I said, it has 75 miles to go with the gas in it. Okay, and you drive not even a couple of miles, and it'll drop down to maybe 75 gallons that's left. If you turn it off, and then it might have 73. And so the car had been fixed, and it hasn't been 6 months. It's doing the same thing again. So we're trying to figure out where could the gas be going, or what's going to say they changed out the harness, everything with the car. And so we're just trying to figure out what could be the problem with that.
Well, let me understand so that I want to make sure I understand what you're saying. What you're saying is you're looking at the miles to empty, and you've got 75 miles to empty, and then you turn the car off, and then the next thing you know, you've got 7 miles to empty. Or I mean, how much of a change is there in the miles to empty reading, and is that exactly what you're speaking to?
Okay, it's maybe like, it just varies, but you can actually get about 2 miles. You drive about 2 miles, and it'll drop down maybe 2 or 3 gallons.
Okay. It has been my experience, Lawrence, that problem would be in the tank, in the sender unit, and I say that with a conviction because just last evening, I had this challenge with my car, and the fuel gauge went bad. It was under warranty. The dealer repaired it. They were great. They loaned me a car to drive, and no issues there. But the new unit they put in didn't work correctly. The gauge worked, whereas it didn't before they replaced the gauge or the sender unit. But when I got down to 100 miles, the low fuel light would come on. So fast forward, I really worked about a month to run the fuel tank down and fill it, and run it down and fill it, so that I could determine how much fuel it was actually taking physically versus the miles versus what the warning was showing on my dash. And when I took it back, they replaced the gauge, and in my case, I have saddle tanks in my car. So there's a left side tank and a right side tank over the rear seat, under the rear seat, and the left side is not accessible from any portal, but the right side is if you take the seat out, and you can pull a panel out and you can get to the right side gauge, but you have to reach across the tank, inside the tank, to get to the other side. It's a very sophisticated dual gauge that measures how much, and these tanks are Siamesed, and they're connected, but they drop down because they have to go over the drive shaft of the car. Having said that, it works so well now, and it's ironic that you should call me, that my game that I play is I run my car down to the check engine until the low fuel light comes on. And not only do I do that, I run it down to 0 miles to empty, and then I guess how many miles and how many gallons my car is going to hold. And Fabio, if you remember, we did a little test one day. I filled my car, Lawrence. I never looked at how much gas it took. I gave the ticket to Fabio the next morning, which is a Saturday broadcast here, and then I guessed, and I was within 1/10 of a gallon of how much the car holds. To that end, last night, I went down to 0 miles to empty, And because the weather is colder than normal, I knew that it would take a little more. 0 miles to empty, my car should have 1.4 gallons left in it, so it should hold 20 gallons. Last night when I filled my car at 0 miles to empty, I guessed it would hold 20.2 gallons. Guess how much it held? 20.32. I missed it 0.12 gallons, and it should have held 20 gallons, but because it was colder weather, I knew that the car gas mileage wasn't the same. So I said all that to say this. That's how accurate your gauge in this Armada should be. So I'm going to say, and now a lot of that not only has to do with the gauge in the tank, it has to do with the fuel injector openings and fuel pressure. All that is uses logarithms to measure the injector pulse width and the pressure and how much fuel would flow, because there is no gauge that says, okay, you've got 5 gallons left in the tank and this is how many miles you've gone. It doesn't work that way. A car today, when you look at the instant readout or the average MPG on the dash, comes up with those figures by counting how many millions of times the injector has opened, and given the pulse width, which is like 3 milliseconds, the blink of an eye, blink your eye, everybody, the blink of an eye is 200 milliseconds. An injector is open 3 milliseconds. So if you have an injector that is open 3 milliseconds for 1.2 million times over 85 miles, then and indeed you've used X amount of gas. And to dumb that down, which is so make it not so technical, in your home spigot, when you turn the water on, if you're going to wash your car, if you've got 40 psi of water pressure and you open the spigot immediately, you should be able to fill 5 gallons in 1 minute. And roughly something like that. Maybe I'm wrong, but whatever the fill rate is, well, that's how cars count, and that's how sophisticated. So with your Armada, what you need to do is, number one, fill the tank, run it 300 miles or 200 miles, and fill the tank again and see how much fuel it holds, and then check the miles, and you'll know accurately what the MPG is, and then use the gauge to compare that with the miles to empty. And if that's not working correctly, I suspect your problem is going to be in the tank unit. Any questions?
No. Okay, because that's what we're trying to figure out.
Right.
Because they were supposed to have fixed it, and it was doing the same thing within less than 6 months. And we just wondered if it was something with Nissan, because I was at the gas station. There was another lady had an Infiniti. She could fill hers up, and she said by the time she go to the post office box from the gas station after about 2.5 miles, she said her car was showed empty.
Well, that's a problem with her car. So you can't count the one. I mean, my Dodge Viper never had a gauge that worked correctly. I could fill it to 2 or 3 clicks, and 2 clicks is my shutoff always now. But I could fill it to the top, and I could drive 2 miles, and it would be off the full mark. By the same token, I could run the car on empty for 3 days, because on empty it still had 4 gallons. But it was a gauge problem, and I never repaired it, because to get to the fuel tank of the Viper was an act of Congress, and I just learned, I knew how it had gas in it, because when I would slow down coming up to a traffic light, if it had at least 2 gallons, the gauge would rise because of the way the float was mounted. So I knew that I was really getting low when I would slow, rapidly slow down, not nail the brakes, but rapidly slow, and the gauge would not move, or it would just barely nod its head. I knew that I was that low on fuel. Anyway, it is a science, but it's one that's very interesting, because we all need to know, to be safe, whether we all need to be familiar with the gas gauge, because many cars have their own little personalities with regard to gas gauges, and I'm sure you'll agree with that.
Yes, sir.
Hey, my friend, thanks for calling. Where do you live?
Thank you, Marshall, Texas. I appreciate that. I won got a gift card last week, and you gave me some good information last week on my Versa.
Oh, you're the one that won the O'Reilly Auto Parts, the $25 gift card.
Yes, sir.
Well, did you spend the money yet?
Not yet. It'll be this weekend.
Okay. All right, my friend. Well, congratulations on being the lucky winner of the O'Reilly gift card for the $25 to O'Reilly Auto Parts. And thanks for your call about your friend's Nissan today. Have a great week and tune in next week.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. There you go, folks. Cold weather. Batteries, we talked about that a little earlier in the show. There's plenty of time for you to get your call in, by the way, at 888 Car Clinic. Hannah will take your call, 888-227-2546. But I talked about batteries. I talked about the little battery tender. I want you to know about the AGM. That's a different. It's a Power Frame makes AGM batteries, and the AGM battery is more reliable, higher performance, and supports vehicles with high accessory loads and the start-stop systems with regenerative braking energy recuperation. AGM batteries are engineered to provide up to 2 times the life of standard flooded batteries. That's all you need to know. An AGM battery is the best that you can put in your automobile. And next time you need a battery, I highly recommend you buy an AGM battery, and especially one that's manufactured with a Power Frame grid technology. For more information, go to powerframe.com, and for more information about AGM batteries, go to autobatteries.com. We'll take a call now from Jeffrey. We'll take your calls every Saturday from 10 till noon Eastern Time, right here on your favorite local radio station. But, one of the things that is always difficult is how do you communicate with your local service shop? And that's really what I'm here for. I'm not here to fix your car, but I'm here to help you become more familiar with your automobile so you can have a closer, tighter conversation with your local service shop. Let's go to New York, talk to Jeffrey. Jeffrey, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Hi, Bob. I had the same problem with my my fuel.
Okay.
My meter would read one thing, then it would read another.
Yeah, it's a common problem.
You know what I did, though, is I went underneath my car, and I had noticed they did some work in the back, and they removed a bunch of ground wires, and so I replaced them, and guess what? Everything works fine now.
I am not surprised. In fact, the bad grounds, well, let me take that back. I would say that 30%, and this is not, I haven't done a study, 30% of the issues that we have with electronics of cars has to do with bad grounds. And I'll never forget, we had a Taurus in the shop, and it had an issue with drivability, and the ground was a ground wire that was located under the driver's door step plate. How in the world would you ever find a loose ground under the driver's door step plate? But sure enough, we traced it, we found it, and we also found later on a technical service bulletin that shared that very same fact. And I'll bet you with your bravado that the fuel pump or the fuel gauge issue that you fixed with a ground wire is typical. And in New York, you've got a lot of salt on the roads. We talked about this earlier with another caller from your area. So congratulations on repairing that. How in the world did you find it?
They removed my tire, you know how you lower the wire?
Right.
And what happened was the salt got into that wire, and he couldn't get the tire off, so he had to break it off. But when he did, he ripped out all the ground wires.
Wow.
And so I looked up, I'm like, wow, what are these 3 straps hanging? And they were ground.
Well, we had, to that end, Jeffrey, we had a gentleman come in a couple of years ago that had been rear-ended his truck, and I forget, I think it was a GM, had been rear-ended, and the repair shop had repaired it, the body shop. We're not a body shop. And the later on, they went back and the taillights didn't work. And the body shop told him, well, you're going to have new printed circuit boards, because GM's has a problem with printed circuit boards, and they're not covered, they're corroded, and what have you. So he brought that vehicle to us and says, I'm not going to buy these. I want you guys to check it out. We said, well, okay, we'll check it, and we did. And we made a customer for life because it had a bad ground wire, and that's all that was wrong with it. And the body shop just didn't catch it. You know, they weren't trying to sell him something that he didn't need, although they were, but they didn't do it with any malice. They just didn't check the ground wire, and we did. And that just proves, folks, that, you know, you never say never. The thing to do is don't start replacing parts. And thank you, Jeffrey, for your call from New York. Don't start replacing parts until you can verify that the part that you're going to replace will either repair that vehicle or will get you closer to the repair. And when I say closer to it, sometimes, given the complexity of today's cars, you've got A, B, C, and D. You would always repair or fix A first, because A affects B, and B affects C, and C affects D in the chain of parts and the way they're connected within the car. Hey, more information next week. I love it that you tuned in today. It was a terrific program. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. I'll see you same time, same station next week. Take care of your cars and stay warm.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
We recently performed a brake job on a 2012 Ford Escape, and while there are several critical parts to an effective, safe, and lasting brake job, you should always start with a thorough cleaning. Using a quality aerosol brake cleaner will ensure that the surfaces are clean and residue-free. Our choice is Berryman's Chlorinated Brake Parts Cleaner, the first VOC-compliant chlorinated brake cleaner available in over 20 years. Berryman's Chlorinated Brake Parts Cleaner is the strongest carb-compliant brake cleaner on the market. It effortlessly dissolves brake fluid, brake dust, grease, motor oil, power steering fluid, and other harmful contaminants. And be sure to thoroughly clean both sides of the brake rotor and all metal-to-metal mounting points before you apply the silicone brake lube to sliders and contact points. Use Berryman's Chlorinated Brake Parts Cleaner to remove any oily fingerprints or other contaminants from the friction material faces. If left untreated, these impurities could lead to poor brake performance and shorter brake life. Learn more about Berryman's Chlorinated Brake Parts Cleaner at berrymanproducts.com. That's berrymanproducts.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
P. Ricey Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle, Loden, or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you stir in my soul, you warm my heart, make me feel whole.